How the Ottomans took Constantinople. For over 1,000 years, it stood defiant, its golden domes gleaming under the sun, its mighty walls repelling empires. Constantinople, the legendary capital of Byzantium. A city of saints and emperors, prophets and warriors. But in 1453, the unthinkable happened. At just 21 years old, Sultan Mehmed II, ambitious, relentless, and brilliant, unleashed the full force of the Ottoman Empire. He brought with him not only armies, but a vision, to be the conqueror who would bring the final Roman capital to its knees. This is the story of how strategy, science, faith, and sheer will collided in one of history's most legendary sieges. This is how the Ottomans took Constantinople. The jewel of the East, Constantinople's importance. Constantinople was not just any city, it was the linchpin of the Byzantine Empire and a vital hub of commerce, religion, and culture for over 1,000 years. Strategically located between Europe and Asia, it controlled the Bosphorus Strait, making it essential for trade and military movement. The city's grand architecture, including the Hagia Sophia, symbolized Christian glory. As the last vestige of the Roman Empire, it became a coveted prize for the ambitious Ottomans seeking to expand their dominion. The rise of the Ottomans. The Ottomans began as a small principality in northwestern Anatolia. Through military prowess, clever diplomacy, and alliances, they expanded rapidly in the 14th and 15th centuries. By the early 1400s, they had surrounded Constantinople from all sides, controlling most of the Balkans and Anatolia. Their rise was fueled by their military system, which included elite janissaries, and by their adaptability and governance. The Ottomans viewed Constantinople as the missing key to their imperial ambitions. Mehmed II, the young Sultan with a grand vision. Sultan Mehmed II ascended to the throne in 1451, determined to do what no Muslim ruler had achieved: capture Constantinople. A brilliant strategist and multilingual scholar, Mehmed studied the city's defenses and carefully planned its downfall. He reformed the military, strengthened naval forces, and invested in siege technology. His vision was not just military but symbolic. Capturing Constantinople would make him Caesar in the East and place him in the annals of history as a world conqueror. The city's weaknesses. Though historically impregnable, Constantinople had become a shadow of its former self by the 15th century. Its population had dwindled due to plagues and economic decline. The once mighty Theodosian walls were aging and difficult to maintain. The Byzantine Empire had lost most of its territories, leaving the city vulnerable and isolated. With only a few thousand defenders and limited support from Western Europe, Constantinople was ripe for conquest despite its legendary defenses and historical prestige. Preparations for siege. Mehmed spent 2 years preparing meticulously for the assault. He fortified his army with soldiers from across his empire and hired foreign experts in siege warfare. New fortresses were built along the Bosphorus to cut off aid to the city. Supplies, gunpowder, and cannons were amassed in vast quantities. Mehmed also focused on morale and religious motivation, casting the conquest as a holy mission for Islam. The groundwork for a historic siege was set with precision. The giant cannon of Urban. A key piece of Mehmed's strategy was the employment of Urban, a Hungarian engineer who designed a massive bombard capable of firing 600-pound stone balls. The cannon was so large it needed 60 oxen to move and could only be fired a few times a day due to the risk of overheating. Its psychological impact was immense. The thunderous roar and the destruction it caused on the walls made the defenders question their ability to withstand the siege. Naval strategy and blockade. To ensure no external aid could reach the city, Mehmed constructed a formidable fleet and blockaded the Bosphorus and the Sea of Marmara. He cut off trade and food supplies, tightening the noose around the city. The Ottomans also seized islands and ports nearby, making naval escape impossible. The Byzantines relied heavily on sea routes, and their isolation left them increasingly desperate. The blockade was a crucial component in weakening the city's resolve before the final attack. Diplomatic maneuvers. Mehmed used diplomacy to isolate Constantinople. He signed treaties with Hungary and Venice, ensuring that major European powers would not intervene. Meanwhile, Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI appealed to the Pope and Christian monarchs for help, but support was limited due to rivalries and the schism between Catholic and Orthodox churches. Only a few hundred Genoese and Venetian mercenaries came to the city's aid. Mehmed's political acumen kept his enemies divided while he unified his forces for the final blow. The Walls of Theodosius. The famed Theodosian walls were the city's primary defense. Constructed in the 5th century, they featured 3 layers, a moat, an outer wall, and a massive inner wall. Towers reinforced them every few meters. Though centuries old, they had withstood numerous sieges. However, they were now partially in disrepair. The Ottomans focused their bombardments on weak points, particularly near the Gate of Street Romanus. While still formidable, the walls alone could no longer guarantee the city's survival. Siege begins, April 6, 1453. On April 6, 1453, the army of Sultan Mehmed II, numbering around 80,000 men and supported by a formidable fleet, laid siege to the walls of Constantinople. The city, defended by Emperor Constantine XI and approximately 7,000 men, many of whom were foreign mercenaries, faced an overwhelming force. The Ottomans set up camp outside the Theodosian walls, the massive triple-layered fortifications that had protected the city for centuries. Mehmed's army brought with it advanced siege weaponry, including the massive bombard, a giant cannon designed by Hungarian engineer Orban, which could fire stone balls weighing up to 600 kilograms. The constant roar of cannon fire shook the city's foundations. Over the following weeks, the Ottomans relentlessly bombarded the walls while attempting to exploit weak points and launch direct assaults. Despite being outnumbered, the defenders of Constantinople were determined. They repaired breaches at night and used Greek fire and other tactics to repel Ottoman attacks. The stage was set for a brutal and decisive confrontation that would shape the course of history. Non-stop bombardment. For over 6 weeks, the Ottoman cannons relentlessly pounded the city walls. Massive boulders shattered stone and morale alike. Mehmed kept pressure on the defenders by rotating troops and using psychological warfare, shouting insults, playing drums, and lighting fires at night. The Byzantines tried desperately to repair breaches. Yet, every day brought more destruction. The heavy artillery, though slow, was effective in gradually breaking down centuries of masonry and symbolically eroding the myth of the city's invincibility. The Golden Horn Strategy. To prevent an Ottoman naval attack from the north, the Byzantines had blocked the Golden Horn with a massive iron chain. Mehmed's ingenious response was to drag ships overland. He built a greased wooden ramp across Galata and transported ships on logs, a feat of logistics and determination. This maneuver shocked the defenders and allowed the Ottomans to launch attacks from both land and sea. The Golden Horn, once a secure refuge, was now a vulnerable front line. Psychological warfare and deception. Mehmed II waged a psychological war alongside physical combat. He spread rumors that Christian reinforcements were not coming, lowering morale. He also offered generous terms of surrender, hoping to sow doubt among the defenders. Loud night music, fake troop movements, and the appearance of invincibility kept the city in a state of anxiety. Within the walls, divisions between Latins and Greeks deepened, weakening unity. The emotional strain of siege warfare began to sap the defenders' resilience. Final assault preparations. By late May, the walls were cracked, and defenders exhausted. Mehmed prepared for a massive final assault, set for May 29. He divided his forces into waves. Irregular troops would wear down defenses, Anatolian infantry would breach the gaps, and elite janissaries would deliver the final blow. He issued motivating speeches, invoked religious duty, and promised wealth and glory. Every resource, tactic, and ounce of manpower was prepared for one decisive, history-altering push into the city. The night before, a city in prayer. On May 28, 1453, as the Ottomans made final preparations, Constantinople's citizens gathered for a last mass at Hagia Sophia. Emperor Constantine XI led prayers for divine intervention. People confessed sins, forgave each other, and braced for the end. The air was heavy with fear, hope, and resignation. Soldiers manned the walls in silence. The city's ancient legacy, its imperial pride, and its faith culminated in one final night of unity and sorrow. The Fall, May 29, 1453. In the early hours of May 29, the final assault began. Waves of Ottoman troops crashed against the walls. The defenders held out until a breach opened near the gate of Street Romanus. Giustiniani was wounded and carried off, demoralizing his troops. Emperor Constantine fought to the end, dying in battle. Ottoman soldiers flooded the city. Chaos erupted as the ancient capital fell. By sunrise, the banner of Islam flew over Hagia Sophia, and Constantinople was lost. Aftermath, the sack and the transformation. Following the conquest, Mehmed allowed his soldiers 3 days of looting, as was customary. Churches were plundered, and many citizens were enslaved. Yet, Mehmed soon restored order. He entered Hagia Sophia, prayed, and declared it a mosque. He issued proclamations ensuring religious freedom for Christians and began rebuilding the city. Constantinople was renamed Istanbul and became the thriving capital of the Ottoman Empire, marking a new chapter in history and the transformation of a Christian stronghold into a Muslim metropolis. Legacy of the Conquest. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and a major turning point in world history. It shifted trade routes, prompting European exploration that led to the Age of Discovery. The Ottoman Empire emerged as the dominant power in the Islamic world. The conquest also intensified East-West religious tensions. Istanbul flourished under Ottoman rule, but the event remained a symbol of civilizational shift, a moment where old met new, and an ancient empire finally met its end.